Welcome to NarrativeNook Audiotales, where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
Dean brought over the brewed coffee and served one to Arabella. Hans took a sip and told Julian, from now on, switch Arabella's coffee to premium quality. Oh, and order a snack cabinet for her. Fill it with snacks so she won't get too bored when she's working. Roger that. Julian quickly jotted it down. Any specific requests for the snack cabinet and snack brands? Only the best will do. What about the renovation company? Should it be the best as well? Yes. The materials used must be eco-friendly and healthy. There must be no formaldehyde or other harmful substances. Also, move the file room next door somewhere else, clear it out, and merge it with this office. Let the designer design a bedroom for Arabella to rest in. The bed, mattress, and other stuff should also be top-notch. And preferably, there should be a walk-in closet. Arabella thought to herself, was she here to work or on vacation? Got it. Julian quickly noted it down. Also, set up a small living room for her. The sofa should be comfortable, and install a projector so she can watch movies when she's free. Upon hearing this, Arabella finally couldn't help but interrupt, "Brother, I'm here to work. There's no harm in relaxing a bit after work." Hans finished his coffee and stood up. "I'm heading to the company to check on things. You stay here and rest. There is no need to accompany me. Miss Bella, you rest for a bit. I'll have the coffee sent over soon." Julian followed Hans to check on the different departments of the company. After they left, Dean couldn't help but say, "Miss Bennet, your brother treats you so well. You're really lucky. I also have a brother, and when we were kids, he used to pull my ears a lot. Now that we're grown up, he's still nothing but trouble." As he said this, Dean sighed, wondering why other people's brothers were so nice while his was such a headache. Arabella chuckled. "Don't you ever get him into trouble?" "I do, but I always end up on the losing end, and he turns the tables on me. This harmonious scene between you and Mr. Collins is something I've never seen before." Dean felt a hint of envy. After a while, Hans and Julian returned, and Arabella noticed something seemed off with her brother's mood. "Are you upset?" Hans didn't expect his sister to notice. He softened his demeanor and said, "No." Arabella then looked at Julian, who didn't dare to hide anything, and said, "A male employee wrote a love letter to you, Miss Bella, through email. The boss saw it, scolded him a bit, and transferred him to another subsidiary." Hans was even managing this? Arabella was a bit surprised. He also warned everyone, saying that you're young, and anyone who isn't focusing on their work and keeps thinking about nonsense, the company won't keep them. This scared everyone, and they quickly got back to work. Arabella thought, and now other employees will probably think Hans has feelings for her. This misunderstanding might be hard to clear up in the future. "Dean, if anyone else causes such chaos, report it to me directly," Hans said. Dean, being named, was taken aback, then quickly replied, "Don't worry, Mr. Macmillan already warned them. I've blocked quite a few unwanted suitors for Miss Bennet." Hans thought, even Romeo was managing this? He's really on top of things. "Rest assured, Mr. Collins, with your and Mr. Macmillan's instructions, I won't let even the most basic suitors get any chances. I will definitely stop them," Dean promised. Hearing this, Hans felt a little better. "I should get back to the headquarters." Just as Arabella was about to agree, Dean hurriedly said, "Mr. Collins, aren't you staying for lunch with Miss Bennet? You rarely have time to come here. Why don't you try the food in the new cafeteria?" "All right," Hans agreed. At high noon, the restaurant staff nearly dropped their utensils in shock when they saw Hans and Arabella strut in together. "Mr. Collins still hasn't left the company? He's still eating lunch with Miss Bennet? Did he really have a thing for Miss Bennet, just like the rumors suggest? But there's at least a 6 or 7 year age gap between them. Was this a classic case of an older guy chasing after a younger girl? He seems really gentle when he's chatting with Miss Bennet." Hans leaned in to listen to Arabella, gave a nod, said a few words to the cafeteria staff, and then helped Arabella with her food. He took it to the table first, letting her sit and wait. Mr. Collins is such a gentleman, helping Miss Bennet with her food before getting his own. No trouble at all. "Bella." At this point, Molly, who had just gotten her food, saw Arabella sitting alone at the table. She joyfully carried her tray and sat next to her. "Why are you alone? Did Mr. Collins leave?" No sooner had she said this than she saw Hans approaching them with his tray. "Mr. Collins?" Molly was surprised. "Did I take your seat?" "Sorry, I'll just..." "It's okay, let's eat together." Hans sat across from Arabella, wiped his hands with a sanitizing wipe, and began peeling shrimp. "Mr. Collins, do you like shrimp too? Just like Bella, you guys both love seafood." "I'm peeling them for her." Hans placed the peeled shrimp one by one on Arabella's plate and said, "Eat up, I ordered all these dishes for you." None of the dishes he liked were ordered. "Bella, your brother is so good to you." Molly couldn't help but say, "Mr. Collins, you should try our cafeteria food. Ever since Bella revamped the cafeteria, the food here is so much better. Fresh, delicious, and cheap." "Really?" Hans placed the peeled shrimp into Arabella's bowl and said, "I'll give it a try later." He turned to Arabella and gave her a small smile, saying, "Your staff speaks highly of you." Molly is my good friend, not just a staff member. Their relationship had already surpassed that of boss and employee. "Well, invite your good friend over to our place sometime." Having finished peeling the shrimp, Hans added a piece of meat to Arabella's bowl. "You should eat too." Arabella was worried his food would get cold. "Just seeing you enjoy your food makes me happy, and it increases my appetite. I'll surely eat more than you later." Hans didn't stop what he was doing. Instead, he said, "I might come back late from this trip abroad. Take care of yourself and go shopping or watch movies with your good friend when you're bored. All expenses are on me. If there's anything you can't handle, call me." "Okay." Arabella responded and ordered a steak for Hans, urging him to eat. Hans's eyes softened. His little sister was ordering food for him. That's a treatment no other brother got. Suddenly, he felt like creating a chat group just to show off to everyone else. "I'll be back to keep you company soon," Hans said after finishing his meal. "Your brother David will be back in a few days. He's blunt, so if he unintentionally hurts you or makes you feel wronged, tell me. I'll sort him out." When Molly heard the news, she was freaked out big time. Mr. Collins's kindness and strictness were all too real. They were beyond imagination. He could scold his own brother without any hesitation. That was simply horrifying. "David is coming back?" Arabella was a bit surprised. "Yeah, not sure when though, don't bother about him." Hans put some fish onto Arabella's plate, thinking to himself, no more chances to help his sister from now on. David really hit the jackpot. "That's too much, I can't finish it." Arabella didn't want him to add more to her plate. "If you're not eating, neither am I." Okay, seeing the shrimps were mostly peeled, Hans wiped his hands with a disinfectant wipe and said, "I'll wash my hands first, then I'll add some soup for you, then I'll eat." After Hans left, Molly couldn't help but nudge Arabella with her elbow. "Oh my God, I've never seen Mr. Collins this gentle before. Bella, you're so lucky to have such a good big brother. He defended you in front of everyone last time, and now he's peeling shrimp for you. I wish I had a big brother like that." "Your mom is good to you too, isn't she?" Arabella gently smiled. This kind of affection and care from family was something she hadn't experienced in the Murphy family for 18 years, except for a bit of warmth from Granny Grace. The employees around were all discussing, "Mr. Collins must like Ms. Bennett. I bet $10. Some colleague wrote a love letter to Ms. Bennett in an email this morning. He was immediately transferred to another subsidiary after Mr. Collins found out. Isn't that enough to prove Mr. Collins's feelings? Yes, it's also obvious. I can't wait to see their sweet moments. Will the company give us a day off if they get married? So jealous of Ms. Bennett. I wish Mr. Collins would be that gentle with me." Hans brought a bowl of soup to Arabella, shared a lot of his food with her, and then started eating. Halfway through, he suddenly asked, "Bella, do you have a favorite flower?" "Flower?" Arabella was taken aback. "Marigold, I guess." What was he asking for? "Shall I have someone plant marigolds around your balcony? This way, when he's abroad, she would think of him when she saw these flowers. He's afraid she'll forget him when her other brothers come back." Arabella had no idea what he was thinking. She just nodded, "Okay." She thought he was acting a bit strange all of a sudden. After lunch, Arabella went back to the office, and Julian immediately put the purchased items in front of her. "Miss Bella, these are some newly bought coffee beans. Would you like to try them? Coffee sounds nice. I'll brew it for you right away." After Julian made the coffee, he brought a cup to Hans and one to Arabella and said, "Miss Bella, have a taste. How's the flavor? Is it too bitter? Do you need some sugar?" "It's fine, you go do your work." After Arabella said that, she looked at Hans sitting on the sofa and couldn't help but ask, "Do you really like this brand of coffee that much?" "Yes, this coffee has a rich flavor without being bitter, and the aroma is fragrant without being greasy, truly a rare taste." Hans replied gently, "You should have a taste." After that, he turned to Julian and asked, "Have you told them yet?" "Yes. I've informed the procurement department that from now on, Ms. Bennett's coffee will be sent directly from the headquarters. There is no need for the procurement department to buy it separately." Hans lifted his coffee for a sip. Arabella also tried hers. "It's pretty good." At that moment, someone brought in a bunch of snacks. Julian took it upon himself to sort them out. "Miss Bella, Mr. Collins doesn't usually snack. If there's anything you don't like, let me know, and I won't have it brought next time." Okay, Arabella wasn't much into snacks either, but she was touched by her brother's thoughtfulness. Julian sorted the snacks into categories, labeling them as nuts, spicy snacks, biscuits, candies, pastries, chips, and so on, making it easier for Arabella to find them later. Dean watched this with envy, wishing he had such a considerate brother. Once Julian was done, Hans told him to head back to the headquarters. "I'll stay with Bella a bit longer." He was leaving the country tomorrow and didn't know when he'd have time to spend with his sister again. Okay, Julian respectfully left. "Miss Bennett, won't those spicy snacks be too hot for you? If you want, I could taste them first," Dean said with a smile. Arabella replied without emotion, "Go do your work." She hadn't even touched the snacks Hans had sent, and Dean was trying to get a taste? Okay, disappointed, Dean left. "Do your thing, don't mind me." Hans sat opposite Arabella, quietly watching her busy at her computer. Her slender fingers alternated between typing, replying to voice messages, checking files, and signing documents. In less than half an hour, she had dealt with several matters. Her work efficiency was really impressive for an 18-year-old girl. After a while, she received a phone call and went out to the balcony. Just then, someone knocked on the office door. Hans casually said, "Come in." Molly entered, surprised to see Hans still there. So, the voice she heard was real. She hid the things in her hand behind her and said, "Hello, Mr. Collins. What are you hiding?" Hans asked curiously. Knowing she couldn't hide it, Molly brought out her stuff. "Ms. Bennett helped me out a lot before. I bought some tasty snacks online recently and wanted to share them with her. I'm not slacking off, am I?" She looked a little nervous. "She's on the phone." Hans replied calmly, "Just leave it on her desk." "Thank you, Mr. Collins." Molly hurriedly placed the snacks on Arabella's desk. In her rush, she bumped her knee into the chair next to Hans and yelled in pain. As she turned to leave, her skirt got caught on the chair. "Oh no!" And down she went, chair and all. Hans reacted quickly, catching her. Just like that, Molly ended up in his arms. Molly looked up in shock at the man before her as Hans looked down at her. The warmth from the girl in his arms instantly filled him. Arabella walked in after her call, seeing the two in a compromising position. She thought, wow, that escalated quickly, didn't it? "Are you okay?" Hans asked the girl in his arms. "I'm fine." Molly tried to stand up several times but kept slipping because of her torn skirt, falling back into Hans' arms. Her face was burning hot, and she started to stutter, "I'm sorry, Mr. Collins. I didn't mean to." She was so emotional that she was on the verge of tears and felt extremely embarrassed. Eventually, she gathered her courage to stand up, but she didn't expect to step on her own skirt, making the tear even worse. Right in front of Hans, her skirt completely ripped apart, scaring her to the point of screaming, "Ah!" Hans quickly took off his suit jacket and wrapped it around her waist, tying a knot with the sleeves, successfully covering her embarrassment. "Mr. Collins, I'm really sorry." "Thank you." Molly was so ashamed that she couldn't explain and hurriedly left. Hans's face unconsciously turned red, as if he could still feel the gentle scent of the girl. As Arabella walked into the office, the sound of her high heels hitting the floor brought Hans back to reality, his face still a bit warm. "Your friend's skirt tore. She might need your help." "Oh, I saw." The comber of Arabella's mouth rose. She suddenly felt that their relationship seemed very good. She took out her phone and called Dean, saying, "Go to a nearby clothing store and buy a one-size-fits-all skirt." "I'll go buy it." Hans felt that if he stayed here any longer, his hot cheeks might be discovered by his sister, so he got up and walked out. "That works." Arabella told Dean on the phone, "You don't need to go, my brother is going." Then she called Molly, "Where are you?" "Bella, I'm really too embarrassed." Molly was so ashamed that she couldn't help herself. "I'm now in the ladies' restroom." Even though she was still tied to Hans's suit jacket, the skirt was so badly torn that she had no courage to go out and see people. She was wearing a fawn lace skirt today. She didn't expect it to tear so easily, the hem completely ripped. She felt like her underwear was exposed. Mr. Collins must have seen it, right? Thinking of this, she was so ashamed that she wanted to find a hole and crawl in. She should have known better than to buy such a cheap skirt. "I'll bring you some clothes right now." Arabella's words were like a lifesaver, and Molly was extremely happy. "Woo woo woo, you're so nice." "It's my brother who's nice. He's the one buying the clothes." "What?" At this moment, Molly's face got even hotter. After a while, Hans came back with the skirt. Arabella delivered it to the ladies' room. Molly changed into it, and when Molly was about to ask Arabella to return the suit jacket to Mr. Collins, she couldn't face Hans herself. Who would have thought that at this moment, Arabella would have received a phone call and left the ladies' room first? Molly, holding Hans's suit jacket, just walked out and saw Hans standing outside. Her face turned red again, like a tomato. Thinking of her falling into his arms over and over again, the embarrassment was indescribable. She quickly stuffed the clothes into Hans's arms, lowered her head and said, "Thank you, Mr. Collins. I'll pay you back for the skirt." Hans was about to say it wasn't necessary, but she had already quickly left. This little girl ran away from him like he's a ghost. She ran so fast, not afraid of falling down, just like before. After Arabella hung up the phone and came back, only the suit jacket was left in Hans's hand. Molly was gone. "Where's Molly?" Arabella asked. "She's already gone home." "Did she need anything from me just now?" "She said she wanted to bring some snacks to share with you." After work, Hans and Arabella headed to Hatikva Hospital together and parked in the VIP spot. As soon as he got out of the car, he saw their family RV driving up from a distance and parking next to them. This floor was their family's exclusive VIP floor. Other patients' families couldn't even get in, ensuring their privacy. Kenneth Collins helped Louisa out of the car, while Serena pretended her last injury was still hurting, thus needing her father's assistance too. After getting out of the car, Serena, arm in arm with Kenneth with one hand and Louisa with the other, said with a big grin, "Bro sis, you guys are here too." Looking at her arms, Hans said indifferently, "If I didn't know better, I'd think our parents only had you as a child. You're already grown up, but you're still acting so childish." Not sure if he was calling her immature or saying she was showing off in front of Arabella on purpose. Serena chuckled sweetly. "Bro, you're talking as if I'm monopolizing mom and dad. I'm still in recovery, I need their help. Come, Bella." Hans ignored her and walked towards Arabella, asking, "Did you remember what I told you on the way here?" "Don't worry, big bro, I remember everything." Hearing this, Serena immediately rushed forward to grab Hans' other hand, curiously asking, "What's the secret you told Bella on the way here?" "Sis, what interesting stuff did big bro tell you?" Hans looked at her arm and said, "Hand." Serena pouted discontentedly, let go of his hand, and said, "Bro, you're playing favorites. Bella can touch you, but I can't, you're stingy." Hans replied, "She just came back to this family. Of course I need to treat her better. As for you, you've been letting loose too much lately. I think I should wait for your grades to come out, help you apply to a college abroad, and personally supervise your studies." Serena thought to herself, he must have noticed her showing off in front of Arabella just now, that's why he said that. Louisa stepped forward, held Arabella's hand, turned to Hans and asked, "Hans, I heard you've been with Bella all day today. Did you help her handle some difficult things?" Arabella answered honestly, "Big bro has been very good to me." As they walked towards the elevator, Hans said, Bella is very efficient and capable. She doesn't need my help. She's very popular in the company. Everyone likes her. Louisa was thrilled to hear this. I've heard that everyone in the company likes her. Now hearing you say this, I can imagine how popular Bella must be there. Yes, today some staff mistakenly thought I was going to lay people off and said if I fired Bella, they would quit. Hans said this, looking tenderly at his sister, and many people asked me to give her paid vacation. Bella's really popular in the company, huh? Kenneth said gleefully. He knew it wasn't easy to reach that level, implying that Bella must have worked hard. Seeing their harmonious family, Serena felt a pang of jealousy. Who in the world would quit their job just because Bella did? Were they nuts? And they even asked for a raise for Bella. That's crazy. It must be Bella who bribed them. That's why they're speaking up for her. But the college entrance exam results are coming out tomorrow, sis. What are you going to do? Serena asked innocently. Are you going to keep running the company or go to college? She secretly hoped that Bella would go to a crappy college so she could have all the family wealth to herself. Each time Serena spoke in that affected tone, Bella felt a strong repulsion. Luckily, it was Hans who answered first. I've already discussed it with the company. Bella will go to school, and Dean will be responsible for day-to-day operations. Big decisions will be handled remotely by Bella. Even if Bella doesn't go to work, her salary will still be paid on time. Oh, that's a good idea. Serena pretended to be happy. Did everyone in the company agree? If Bella could still get paid without going to work, wouldn't that be unfair? Surely the others will object? They all agreed. It was a unanimous decision. Hearing this, Serena was seething with anger. Were they all nuts? Getting a salary without going to work, and they all agreed? They must have been forced to agree, right? Sis is amazing. Serena said, feigning admiration. I wish I could run the company like you. What do you think, Mom and Dad, big brother? Hans gave her a look and said, You've been spoiled since childhood. You probably can't handle the company. So, he's implying she's not suitable to run the company, but Bella was? I haven't even tried yet, and you're already shooting me down. Humph. Serena pretended to pout. Mom, Dad, big brother doesn't believe in me at all. Hans is right. You've been pampered since childhood and have no management experience. Louisa agreed with Hans. You should concentrate on your studies and don't worry about the future. I get it. Serena knew her mother was biased, but she didn't want to make it too obvious. She moved closer to Louisa and said, Mom, I'll listen to you. Even if you don't want me to get married, I'm willing to stay by your side and take care of you. How can a girl not get married when she grows up? Louisa disagreed, saying, We don't need you to take care of us. As long as you're well behaved, it's enough for us to be a harmonious family. Serena caught her drift. Don't worry, Mom. With Sis around, our family will be more lively. They arrived at the elevator door on the VIP floor. The elevator door opened with a ding. This floor was not open to the public. All medical staff served the Collins family exclusively. A head nurse bowed respectfully when she saw them. Mr. Collins, Mrs. Collins, you're here? And Hans and Serena too. This is also the lady of the Collins family. From now on, she can come and go freely here. Louisa introduced Arabella, holding her hand. The head nurse was a bit surprised, but she still bowed respectfully and greeted, Hello, Miss Bennett. Hey there, Arabella gave a slight nod as a polite gesture. The head nurse looked at Arabella, who seemed to possess more nobility than even Serena could she be a relative of the Collins family. She appeared to come from a prestigious background, well-educated and not have the same kind of petulance and indulgence as Serena. Clearly, she was a sensible individual. Have my parents woken up today? Even though the chances were slim, Louisa still held a glimmer of hope as she asked. They're still unconscious. Their condition hasn't been great these past 3 days. Daily medical monitoring data and doctor's advice were updated on a software system so Kenneth and Louisa could check it anytime. Recently, Louisa also noticed that the health data of the 2 elderly individuals was gradually declining. The doctor's assessment was not optimistic, and they were advised to be mentally prepared. It's mainly because they are getting old and their bodily functions are deteriorating. You can go now. All right. Louisa took Arabella by the hand and led her down the corridor. Your grandparents need some peace and quiet, so their room is at the very end. Inside the spacious and bright VIP ward, there were 2 smart hospital beds with 2 nurses each accompanying an elder. Upon seeing Louisa and the others, they immediately stood up, ready to greet. Louisa motioned for them to be quiet and then had them leave. They bowed respectfully and then exited the ward. "Dad, Mom," Kenneth said, choked up. He never thought his wealthy family would still have to endure such hardship. "Dad, Mom, when will you wake up? Kenneth and I found our biological daughter. This is Bella, Arabella Collins, your real granddaughter." Upon hearing real granddaughter, Serena shot her a disdainful look. What's so great about that? She suddenly hoped her grandparents would never wake up. That way, Arabella wouldn't get their approval. In the eyes of the elders, she, Serena, was the only granddaughter. "Bella, say hello to your grandparents." Louisa spoke gently. Arabella stepped forward, obediently saying, "Grandpa, Grandma, I came to visit you." The 2 elders, wearing comfortable house clothes and with their eyes shut, looked as if they were napping. Their hair was neatly groomed, their nails meticulously trimmed, and they both looked very decent. They were members of a great family. Even now, with breathing machines attached, their grandfather's kind face suggested he was a lively and optimistic person in life. Looking at the grandmother, her well-maintained face still showed hints of her imposing presence in the business world, appearing friendly yet smart and capable. So this was what her grandparents were like. "Bella, grab a seat here." Louisa gestured for Arabella to sit on the chair placed between 2 hospital beds. After seating, Bella naturally placed her hand on her grandpa's wrist and said, "Grandpa, we're all hoping for your speedy recovery." She then placed her other hand on her grandma's wrist and said, "Grandma, can you hear me?" Her gestures didn't slip past Hans' notice. He was wondering, was his sister checking on their grandparents' condition? Even though he heard that she saved Philip before, their grandparents' condition seemed worse than Philip's, and even the best doctor was helpless about it. Louisa didn't notice her daughter's unusual actions. She placed her hand on the bed edge, whispering, "Who would have thought that fire 18 years ago took Bella away in the thick smoke? Thank God, she came back to me after 18 years. You have no idea how smart Bella is. She's young and yet capable of running a company, totally living up to your prime time." Louisa chuckled and then continued, "This must be genetic. We Collins family folks have the knack for business. That clothing company was on the brink of bankruptcy, but after Bella took over, it bounced back and even gained the support of many employees." Kenneth sat by Grandpa's bedside, feeling a bit choked up. "Dad, Louisa is right. You really should see Bella. She is beautiful, smart, business savvy, knows music, and even designs clothes. There's nothing she's not good at. If you wake up and see such a granddaughter, you will be thrilled." Even though he said all that, he wasn't sure if the old man could hold on till he woke up. Thinking about it, Kenneth felt even more choked up, and the urge to cry was overwhelming. "Dad, rest assured, the medical team is doing their best. Grandpa and Grandma will wake up," Hans said, glancing at Arabella, "and Bella is here." Serena felt a bit upset seeing everyone praising Arabella. She cried and suddenly leaned on the bed edge. "Grandma, when will you wake up and talk to me? I miss you hugging me, smiling, and praising me, saying I'm your favorite granddaughter. Every little achievement of mine, every praise from the teacher, you would be proud of me." Serena lifted her tear-streaked face and said, "If all my progress and all my honors need to be exchanged for your health, then I'd rather be a nobody, an unknown. As long as you can be with me as when I was little, smiling and talking to me, I would give up everything." Arabella looked at Serena with disgust. Wouldn't all this crying disrupt the patient's rest? "Grandma, can you hear me? You don't even want to care about your most beloved, proudest, and favorite granddaughter? Even if I cry like this, you won't feel bad? Grandma." Serena leaned on the bed again, sobbing, "When I was little, you would hold me and wipe my tears, saying my tears are the world's most precious gem, and you would never forgive anyone who made me cry. But now that your granddaughter is crying for you, you don't care." Arabella was speechless. Was there a need to keep emphasizing granddaughter? "Serena, Grandma needs to rest," Hans advised. "I'm sorry, big brother," Seeing Grandpa and Grandma suffer here makes my heart ache like it's going to stop. Hearing her say that, Kenneth's eyes welled up. He too was heartbroken about his parents' suffering, and he didn't know when these hardships would end. Serena sobbed, looking at her grandparents in sorrow. I was looking forward to holding your hands and strolling with you like we used to. You always said I was too focused on my studies and didn't have time for you. Now that I'm on summer break, I have plenty of time for you. I'm willing to do anything as long as you wake up. Mom, why don't you take Serena out for a bit? Hans suggested. Louisa, also weighed down by her crying, got up and pulled her along, saying, Serena, let's go out. Let's not disturb Grandpa and Grandma's rest. As Serena got up, she pretended to be unstable and fell into Louisa's arms. Mum, do you know when Grandpa and Grandma will wake up? I'm so worried. My head's spinning, I can hardly stand. I know you're worried about them. Louisa gently patted her back and said, I believe they'll recover soon. I'll go talk to the doctor. Kenneth, too, couldn't hold back his emotions. His eyes were red. He stood up and walked out of the ward. When the ward was left with only the siblings, Hans softly asked, Can you diagnose? Arabella was a bit surprised, but honestly answered, a little. What did you find? Hans was surprised. The doctor's medication is too cautious, not directly treating the symptoms, missing the best treatment period. Hans didn't expect her to know this. The doctor considered Grandpa and Grandma's old age, so they chose conservative treatment, and they were not completely sure, so they did not rashly use medication. Grandpa and Grandma's bodies are very weak now. But it's not completely hopeless. It's just that the cerebral hemorrhage had caused great damage to their central nervous system, coupled with respiratory infections, anemia, electrolyte metabolism disorders, and so on. They needed to use comprehensive medication. Simple infusion can't cure it. Do you have a solution? Hans looked at Arabella's confident look, a bit surprised. He didn't expect that a whole medical team was helpless, but she seemed to have a way. Yes. As soon as Arabella finished speaking, the grandmother's monitor began to beep. The sound was very urgent. The nurse outside heard the sound, immediately pushed the door in, took a look, and then worriedly said, Oh no. The old lady is having trouble breathing. She immediately rang the bell on the bedside, then yelled in the old lady's ear, Hang in there, the doctor is coming. The head nurse at the reception desk heard the call, immediately sent people to find the doctor, and rushed to the ward with 2 nurses. Kenneth was asking the doctor about the condition, heard the situation, and also quickly ran to the ward. What's wrong with Mom? Louisa rushed in upon hearing the news. Serena also panicked. Big brother, what's going on? We just stepped out for a bit. Why is this monitor beeping non-stop? What happened to Grandma? Haley, what's happening? The old lady is having trouble breathing. Haley was also clueless. There were only Hans and a strange girl in the ward just now. Before this strange girl appeared, the old man and old lady were doing fine. Could she have done something? Get the defibrillator ready. The doctor shouted. Stand back, all of you. Arabella tightly held Grandma's hand, interlocking their fingers, and with her other hand, she took out a needle from her bag, opened it quickly, took out a thin needle, and quickly started to bleed. You, who are you? What are you doing? Stop right now. Dr. Nolan was shocked and ready to stop her. If you defibrillate now, there's only one outcome, and that is death. Arabella's words stopped the doctor in his tracks. Everyone was stunned by Arabella's decisiveness and determination, unable to believe how she knew Grandma's condition couldn't be defibrillated. Was there any medical basis for this?
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.